How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Marvel Movies Podcast, where once again we're going to be talking about a boring ass movie. Today, we're talking about Thor. So, Thor was released in 2011, I'm pretty sure, and it's a movie that
Yep.
exists. What do you
Yep.
say?
Well,
uh,
I agree that it's just super boring, but, you know. Oh no. For it being boring, I'll give it credit because, it's the first movie of Thor, but still. After
Yeah.
Iron Man and then going to Thor, it's kind of a step backwards. So,
Yeah, definitely. Like, like after the first Iron Man, which was like the best one that we've seen so far, it's just really funny that each movie that's after it has just gotten like progressively like more boring.
yeah. Which
I don't
sucks
know.
because it's like one of the greatest franchises ever, but it had a very slow start apparently.
Yep. Yeah. Like I don't remember them being this boring, but here we are. So
Yeah.
fun times. But yeah, this movie came out in 2011. I don't think it did that well, but the budget, I'd say, was probably a little bit higher than the other one. Chew, bless me. Anyway, this movie's giving me allergies. Let's see. So it got like a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes somehow. Don't think it should have gotten that. Had a $150 million budget, so $50 million less than Iron Man 2.
Oh, okay.
So you can
So
clearly
pretty-
tell, cause
Yeah.
um,
But it still
but
looks
yeah.
better than She-Hulk.
hells yeah, cause everything looks better than She-Hulk. God, it's funny because like watching all these Phase 1 movies is really like showing that like Phase 4 really is awful because
Oh,
like
yeah.
at least with Phase 4 there's something to talk about. In Phase 1 it's just like yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Here you go. And so I don't know.
It's weird because at this point, Phase 1 and 4 are kind of doing the same thing where they're introducing characters, but Phase 1 did it so much better.
Yeah, probably because they were all movies in Phase 1 instead of like all
Yeah.
the TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie again, not a good one. Definitely not a good one. I would say that it is like a little bit better than Iron Man 2, only because it's something different this time with different
Yeah.
people. So it's a little bit more memorable, but it's still like very small amount. They're both not good movies, so
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. The very just middle of the road. Like it's not awful,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say
it's also not
it's
good.
not a
so
yeah. I was gonna say it's not a bad movie. It's just not a good movie either. So
yeah.
falls right in the
It's
middle.
just like there, yeah.
yeah,
Which is kind of like sad when you're just starting out and it's like, okay, we're gonna build this universe, and then you build not a good one. So it's
Yeah.
like, ooh, way to start off. Again, like after this, I think we're good for a little bit because like Captain America isn't awful because we didn't watch that one that long ago, so.
Right.
And it wasn't a miserable experience, so it's like, okay, I know that one won't be bad, and I know Avengers is good, so I think we're on the right path from here on out from boring for the main Marvel movies, so thank
Yeah.
God.
I hope so.
Yeah, I know, because this podcast is kind of getting hard to do, because, like, before for the other ones there's so much to talk about, and now for these past few ones, it's like, okay, these movies are either so bad or so boring that there's not much to really say.
Yeah,
So.
I know.
Who knows? But yeah, so we might as well start out with some of the positives. So what was your first positive for Thor?
Well, I'm just gonna start with a character. Darcy was like one of my favorite characters in this movie because she's just so funny, and she just said the most random things. Like at the beginning, why taser Thor? Because I don't know, why not? So it's
You're
funny
freaking
because
me out.
it's funny because like Darcy's not in the movie like a lot, but when she is, it's actually funny. So, one of my favorite characters, and yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty funny. I'm glad that they like put her in lately. Like now she's back after like 30 years absence. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My first positive is that I think like the beginning stuff on Asgard is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff with like the frost giants and establishing like Thor, Odin, and all that shit was really cool. And I can't tell if it was because it was something finally different that we kind of got, because like for the past like every movie that we've reviewed so far, it's just been on Earth. So I think it's cool to finally like step out of Earth and go into like space shit. I think that is just really interesting. And I'm into like, well, not super into it, but I think like the mythology shit is kind of cool. So delving into that stuff, I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I really like that. So I thought all that was cool, and except for the moment that like we didn't really get a lot of it, and he went to Earth pretty fast. So I thought it was cool when it was there, but it just got really sucky as the movie went on.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely cool to see the different realm. So, like all the, like yep. Yeah. So a little while ago, I was kind of really into mythology stuff. So, I kind of knew some of this stuff, but it was really cool to see it in movie form. So, but again, like you said, we only saw it for like what 5 minutes, so
yeah,
kind of sad. But I hope in future. I haven't watched most of the Thor movies, so like I've only watched Ragnarok and the latest one, Love and Thunder. So I don't know much about Dark World or anything. So I know it's a bad movie, but that's all I know about it. So
yeah. It's actually not as bad as people say, though. Like in my opinion, at least, everyone says it's one of the worst, but to me, it's not that bad. So
okay,
I think you'll be fine. But it's still like
we won't suffer.
Ooh, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. Oh no, it's just very funny how they like. Actually, I'll get into that in a minute when we get them mixed. But what's your next one if you have any?
Let's see. I know I really liked Loki in this one.
Yeah, that was mine too.
It really showed him as the trickster god and everything, and you know how he's actually really powerful and not an actual joke like he is in the other movies. And like in this one, he's just, you can see how powerful he is and how he really acts, and it feels like really accurate to mythology, in the sense that you know he's the trickster god. He's known for lying and deceiving and all the trickery. So I think they portrayed Loki really very well in this movie. But kind of moving forward, he goes down once he becomes like the hero type, which I like Loki in the MCU. He's just not, you know, Loki in mythology. So it branches off. So, but I still really love Tom Hiddleston as Loki. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah, he does a good job in this. It's funny because, like, when I think about, of course, future Loki and shit like that, it's like, I obviously prefer him in the other movies, and it's kind of like what you were saying earlier, where I can't really blame him too much because this is the first movie, so he didn't really know what he was doing yet. And it's funny because instantly his next movie that he shows up in is The Avengers, and he's, like, fucking phenomenal in that one. So it's just really funny that he went from, like, not really knowing what to do to absolutely killing it the next time he shows up. So that just shows that he's a really good fucking actor. And that's kind of like what I was saying about Black Widow last week, is that like she didn't really know what she was doing, but in the Avengers she kind of like, it's kind of like that situation where like they just starting out, They really don't know what they're doing, so I can't really blame them too much for it. So
Right. Yeah. Which, like I said before, since it's like an origin movie, I understand why it wasn't like so over the top and all the, you know, the showy, I guess. But
yeah,
if you're all done with positives, I'll go into mixed because
yeah, I am.
I was gonna say like the story. This is like one of the only stories that's like too easy to follow, because literally the plot of this movie is Loki frost giant, Odin go to sleep, Thor gets banished and becomes worthy again, and that's the whole movie. So, I don't know if they realized that the other movies had too much going on and they're just trying to dumb it down, I guess. But I think they just took way too much out of it because it's such a too straightforward of a movie. So that's why that's it's a mixed. Because I'll give it props because it's like the first Thor movie, like I said, and it's just first movie. I'll give it a pass just because it's the first one. So.
Yeah. That is funny now that you mention it, where it's like, I feel like they probably did take all the criticism of the last one. They're like, oh shit, we included way too much in that one. Let's, like, take out everything in this one and have, like, one plot. It's like, I don't know. That is really funny that you mention it, because, even in, like, X-Men Origins and shit, too, like, the past 2 movies that we've watched, maybe even Hulk to a degree, it's like the plot is just so fucking all over the place that it's just so hard to follow.
Yeah.
So going to this one, it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, there really is, like, one plot. It's so easy.
Yeah, it's just too easy to follow.
Yeah.
There's literally no mystery to it whatsoever, so...
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so I'll move into my next mixed, and that is, Thor himself. So... Chris Hemsworth, again, hot as fuck. Dude is ripped. He's a very hot man. He is good for the role. Good look. I think he did an okay job when he was acting. But it's kind of like the everyone else situation where like it's his first time in the role. He doesn't really know what he's doing. So it's a mixed better than like what Loki was because he's the lead of the movie. So I think it shows a lot more. Because, like, for Loki and Black Widow, it's like, okay, it makes sense why they're like that. It's a little bit worse for Loki, because he's, like, a main villain, and Black Widow is kind of like you couldn't really tell. But for, like, Thor, I think it's kind of a big deal to have him not really know what he's doing, because Iron Man pretty much stole the show in his own movie. But it's like, I'm sorry, Thor, you were not the best part of your movie. So...
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. And another thing that I think really fucked with that a lot is that this movie kind of did the Spider-Man 2 thing, but, like, a lot worse. Because in Spider-Man 2, we at least had a whole movie beforehand where he had his powers. And in this movie, we're introduced to Thor, and then he instantly gets his powers taken away and doesn't get them back into the last 10 minutes of the movie. And that is not how you introduce a character, by taking away their powers instantly.
No, it was definitely an interesting choice, which it didn't feel like it worked out too well, just because, like, it's a Thor movie, and you take away his powers, now he can't be Thor. So everyone else is doing work around him while he's just there crying and wanting to get his powers back.
Yep. Like, it's just kind of like, what the hell is the point of this? Like, why would this be the first movie? Like, I honestly think that they should have, like, swapped the two of them. Like, The Dark World should have been the first movie, because Thor had his powers the entire time in that one. So that would have been interesting. And then have him, like, be in this kind of situation in the next movie. Of course, they'd have to rewrite a few things, but just, you do not introduce a character and instantly take away their powers, because it's just... It's like, dude, now I don't care. Like, I really don't. Like, an example of that is Moon Knight. Like, in Moon Knight, he has his powers for, like, an episode and then gets them taken away for half the show until, like, the last episode. and that was fucking annoying. But
Mhm.
in that one, it was a lot worse because it was a show, so like it was dragged out for a long time, so that made me just absolutely hate it. But in this one, it's not as bad because it's a movie, so he has to get his powers back at the end. So it's like, okay, like it's not as bad, but it's also kind of bad at the same time because it feels like he gets his powers taken away for the whole movie, but after like a day, he just gets them back, which is like, ooh,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
he
just really dumb.
changed in a day. Yeah, because that's how that works.
Yeah, seriously. It's just everything went so fast in this movie. Like his romance with like Jane, like it's like, oh my god, I love you so much. Like, bro, you've known him for a day. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's like one of my points. Like Jane was just horny the whole time. That was just her whole character.
Yep.
So she had,
and I mean, I get it. Look at him, but still, like that shouldn't have been the plot.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been. It was just weird, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. So what's your next mixed?
Well, I was actually looking up how long the movie. Oh, about 2 hours, which it did not feel like it because damn, that went by fast. So
yeah, seriously,
it really did not feel like 2 hours. All right, what's my next thing? Yes, the Odin sleep. I have that as mixed because for one, it's fucking stupid, but two, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So like we looked this up during the movie, and apparently it's not a mythology thing. It's a movie thing. So that just made it even worse. Man gets yelled at by Loki and he's like, damn, gotta take a nap.
Gets criticized once, fucking dies.
Yeah. It's just so funny. He had to go to the Odin sleep to restore the Odin force.
Oh
yeah,
my God,
great.
Jesus Christ. Man.
Oh my god, it was just so funny because we were just joking about it the whole movie. Damn, he went to Odin sleep. So
man, he Odin dead.
Wait, yeah, it's just a funny thing that they put in there that I think they meant it to be serious, but it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
Which now I'm realizing that Thor was always funny. It was just also serious at one point. So
yeah,
it was always funny. They just lost the serious. So
yeah. Let's see. For the Odin sleep thing, it is so funny. It's hilarious. Like I put it in my negatives, but like it really was funny. Like it wasn't like an awful thing where I'm like, this is so stupid, but it was so stupid, but in such a funny way that I couldn't hate it. Like
yeah.
it didn't make any sense for the movie. I know why they did it, because again, kind of like what we were talking about for like the X-Men, where like they kind of like killed off Professor X in every single movie to make the plot go on. That's kind of like what they had to do in this one. They're like, okay, we need a way to get Odin out of the way because he's just too powerful. Odin sleep. He need to recharge Odin force. Like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's the best you could come up with.
Yeah, it's
come on.
I don't know. It's just so funny to me that they tried to make something so serious like that, and it just turned into a joke. It's just so funny.
And like, it's funny thinking about it too, because like, dude, like just went to sleep for like a day. And then he recharged the Odin force. Like it's
I know,
like, guys. It's like I would have expected to be like a year-long thing, but it's like, oh no, he passed out. 1 day later, he's like, okay, I'm good. It's like, what? It's like, well, I've done that before. Like, I don't think that's like a Odin force thing. It's like so stupid.
And it's funny because like at the end, he's like, my son's fighting. Nah, I sleep. Breaking the Bifrost. Oh hell nah.
Yeah, seriously though.
It was. Oh, this is just so funny that. Nah, his sons are just gonna kill each other, but no, don't destroy the Bifrost.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god.
Heck, I love Thor.
Oh, I
Um,
think we didn't touch on this when we were talking about Thor, but he just looks funny. Like he
oh
looks
my
so
god.
weird, and I know it's just because
Yeah.
he's like too blonde. Like all
Hmm.
of his eyebrows too blonde. It just makes
Ugh.
his eyes pop, but his forehead is just there because you
Yep.
can't see his eyebrows.
Yeah. He looks awful in this movie.
Yeah.
Like at the end when he got his powers back, and Jane's like, "That's a good look." I'm like, "Don't lie to him. Stop." No, he
Yeah.
looks awful.
Don't lie. You know he just wants some dick.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, but I think that was just so stupid. Like I'm glad that they made him look better in every other movie because he looks fine
Yeah.
in every other movie he's in. But it's this one. It's like, ooh, ooh, that's not. Ugh.
Yeah, I said like when we were watching the movie, he just has a baby face but with a beard. It looks
Yeah.
so weird.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they tried to make him more like look godlike, but they if
Didn't
that's
do a
the
good
case,
job.
then they did a terrible job.
Yeah. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Alright, for my next one, I think that for like another mixed is that Phil Coulson was cool, but he was also
Yeah.
barely in the movie. Like it was cool to see like Shield pop up
Mhm.
and stuff. Like I thought that was snazzy.
Yeah, and then it was
but
a
they
good,
just didn't really do much.
good callback to Iron Man, where that's
Yeah,
where he was
exactly.
going. So
Mhm.
I like that part, but I don't know. Also, Hawkeye was in this movie. Completely forgot about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that could have been touched on more with the story. Like you could have had Hawkeye in it more and introduced him as, an actual character instead of just the guy with the bow and the little crane
Yeah.
thing. So
Like Phil
It-
Coulson only said Barton like once, so like if you missed
Yeah.
that, you'd be like, "Who the fuck was that?" So
who that guy?
yeah. So that was
that
kind of
like he's literally in there for 2 minutes just to point a bow at him.
not even. Yeah. And that's something that I think is really off about these early movies, is that like the Avengers setup is really fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Like we'll get into that for like Captain America stuff too. But for like the first Iron Man, like they had the smallest amount of setup, and that was like Phil Coulson. And even then, like he felt like he had a purpose in the movie, so it wasn't
Yeah.
like it didn't feel tacked on. But in like Iron Man 2, all this shit was like, okay, this is kind of stupid. Like I know why you're doing it because you're just trying to set up Avengers. It doesn't have any place in this movie, and that's kind of like how for this one kind of is too. Like again, Shield makes sense why they're there, but putting in like the Hawkeye and stuff and trying to like allude to other things, like okay, that was kind of, you didn't need to include that stuff in there. It was
Right.
just kind of like, I don't know, tacked on.
Yeah.
Didn't take me out of it at all, but it was still just like, eh.
Eh.
Yeah, kind of like this whole movie. So,
Yeah.
that's all I got for mixed.
Alright, well, I think I got 2 more. I was gonna say
Cool.
that Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 were useless, but still funny in a sense.
Yeah.
Because the fat dude was funny, because he was just eating food.
Yeah.
Then the Once Upon a Time dude was in there, and now he's gonna be Zachary Levi in the next one.
Yep.
So,
Makes sense.
yep. I mean, they really did nothing except fight for a little bit, and
Yeah,
then
for
get
like
their
5
asses
minutes.
kicked.
Yeah.
But they were still a cool addition to it. But like I said, they really didn't do anything. So
Mhm. Yeah,
Like-
they're just very useless.
yeah. And then
Mhm.
the only other mixed I have is that Heimdall did very little. Like
Mhm.
it's said that he's like in the movie. It's like said that he's like more powerful than Odin, or at least he's equal power because he can. I don't know. He's just powerful. So like, it's weird that he doesn't do much, like until the end where he like kills 2 frost giants, but
Yeah.
he really does nothing in the movie. Which I get it. Like his whole thing is he serves Odin, so he's the gatekeeper, and so he's just gotta stand there and watch the gate, I guess. So, like, he is a big character in the future, but in this movie, it's just weird to see him just standing there and doing nothing. So
yeah. Yeah, I had those last two in the negatives, actually, so, yeah. So, yeah, I guess we'll move on to those now, then. So, to go off of you, like, the Warriors 3 I put in negatives because they're just, to me, they're just, like, I understand, like, what you're saying, that they were funny. Like, yeah, they were funny. Like, I liked how they were, like, kind of expanded to stuff, but I'm, like, at that point where I'm like, okay, they didn't do anything in this movie, and they don't do anything in the next movie, and then they die in the third movie. So it's kind of like a Cyclops situation where I'm like they're
That's
just
true.
there, and then they die. So it's kind of like just to me. Again, they were better than Cyclops. I'll give them that, but it was still they were just like very completely useless to me, so I just didn't like him in the movie. And even when Sif shows up in Love and Thunder, she just shows up, gets her arm chopped off, and that's it. So
yeah, it's just really weird that apparently they're supposed to be these big characters, and then they're just there to do nothing.
Yeah, seriously, it's like, okay, they're just Thor's friends.
Yeah, that's basically what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and for Heimdall, he was a big negative for me because like I didn't remember him doing nothing in this movie, because like you were saying, it's like he's just a wooden board.
Yeah.
And because I know him again from Ragnarok the most, and he actually was a character in Ragnarok and Infinity War. And again, sure, he was in Infinity War for like 5 minutes, but he at least had more character in that movie than this entire movie. So it's just like so funny to see Heimdall just be like this generic dude, and I don't know how to feel about it. So
right, it's just I don't know. It's weird. Just like I said, it's like their first movie, so I understand why they're not doing so much. But it's also weird to see, since we've already seen their like future roles, it's weird to see come back and they're doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
because like at least in like the Spider-Man movies and shit, like everyone was like pretty much the same in all those movies. Like sure, they made really stupid choices, but they still felt like the same characters. But it's just in this one, it's like, man, all of you feel like completely different people than how you become later, which is just really funny to me.
yeah, definitely. It is weird.
Yeah, so it just makes you look at it in a negative way, because like, ooh, I definitely did not like you as this, but I like you a lot later on. So
yeah,
just, but yeah. All right, what do you have for negatives and stuff?
Honestly, I don't think I have a negative, only because all the negative things were just funny, so they went into mix. So.
Yeah, gotcha.
I literally have like 10 things written down here. It was such a boring movie that nothing happened.
Seriously.
That's my only negative, so just boring.
Yeah, seriously. And I think that'll lead to mine, which is that everything on Earth was so fucking boring. So, because like I was saying earlier, like all the stuff on Asgard, interesting, very interesting. They definitely should have played a lot more with it, but then he loses his powers and gets sent to Earth. And yeah, Darcy was funny, but like again, Jane Foster is so fucking annoying that it's just like, I don't care about her. She's just completely useless to me. So she's like a big negative, because like she's like the main thing that makes Thor want to be on Earth, and I'm like, dude, you knew her for like a day. Exactly. And you don't, like, you had one night where you were just like, ooh, I'm gonna draw a tree in your notebook, and yay, now we are in love. And it's like, huh? Like, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, it is. Like, I didn't even. It just doesn't make sense that this movie's 2 hours, because nothing happened, and the fact that I can't remember anything that really happened on Earth in this movie, it just shows that, again, it's just boring. Because if you don't have any memorable moments in your movie, then
That's
it's
a
not
bad
a
thing.
yeah, it's not a good movie. It's just boring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like, in my opinion, like we've talked about this before, but a boring movie to me is worse than a bad movie because at
Yeah.
least in the bad movies there's stuff to talk about. In the
Hmm.
boring ones, like we're like right now we are at the 30-minute mark, and I think we're gonna be wrapping up pretty soon because
Yeah.
there's legit really nothing much to talk about.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
like
say this
in
is
the
gonna be
other,
a
and like
really short one.
yeah, exactly. Because in the other ones, there was at least shit to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
the Spider-Man videos were like an hour 20. And this one,
Hmm.
it's like, bro, we're not even gonna hit, like, 40 minutes. So it's just like, it really sucks that, like, these early MCU movies are just so fucking, like, there. That it's like, dude, if I really want to watch Phase 1 of Marvel, I think I'll just watch Iron Man 1 and then Avengers. Because, like, everything else is just
Yeah.
inconsequential.
Yeah,
Which
really
is
it
like
is.
sad. Um, but yeah, so everything on Earth was extremely boring. Like Eric Selvig and Jane had like really nothing to the movie. Like they were just characters who were the ones who Thor happened to run into. And sure, some of it was funny, like the people all trying to yank the hammer out of there and having a fun time. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But everything else that happened with all the characters was just like so stupid and like falling asleep. So it's just there's really no point to really ever watch this movie because all you need to know is that Thor becomes worthy because he wanted to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
And yep, that's it. So
That's another thing I wanted to talk about is like his character growth is so rushed. Like
mhm.
he's cocky at the beginning. He's spoiled. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. Whatever he wants. But he comes down to earth. He's like, "Oh no, my hammer." He cries about it for like 2 hours.
Mhm.
Then everyone gets attacked. He's like, "No, save the people." And then he gets his
Yeah,
powers
it's like-
back. Like, okay, that's not how that works. You can't just change in 2 seconds. But
Yeah,
all right.
seriously.
But I don't know. For a 2-hour movie, it's funny that something was rushed, that it made it feel like 2 minutes.
Yeah, seriously.
It's just so weird. Because honestly, I think in the movie he's only there for like what 3 days.
Not even, I don't think.
Yeah, so, like, you can't change in 3 days, and like it doesn't make like especially like his relationship with Jane. It doesn't happen in 3 days.
Mhm.
It's just
'Cause,
it's just horny.
like-
You're just both horny. You just wanna-
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
seriously.
just it's so dumb. It's not a good.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good storyline, but it was just too easy to follow that it just it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
This whole
seriously.
storyline doesn't matter except for there's like what 3 things to take out of it.
Yep.
Thor's worthy again. Loki's bad guy.
Mhm.
That's it.
Oh,
And Jane horny. That's it.
Yep. And it's like Thor is an extremely old dude, and he's
Yeah.
only met one chick in his life who he knew for 3 days and falls in love with. It's like there's no way. Like there's no way he hasn't met someone who he's known forever back at Asgard that he wasn't in love with, you know? It's
Yeah.
like how is this one chick on Earth he knew for 3 days the one who's like the love of his life? Like that makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And even then, like, for me, it's like again, I love Karis, but I didn't love her after 3 days of knowing her. It's like it's extreme. It's like that doesn't happen. Like that's just not how it works. So and
Right.
especially when it's an all-powerful god who's like thousands of years old, it's like, bro, there's no way that. Ugh, it's just so dumb.
Yeah. Really is overall boring, dumb movie with no actual things to add to the MCU. So
Yep. And also, like what you were saying about the worthiness, I think that totally diminishes characters in the future. Because, like, Captain America should have been able to lift a hammer way before when he did.
yeah,
Because, like,
that's
that dude
weird.
is way more worthy than Thor. It's like, bro, Thor just wanted to fuck Jane and protect people after like a
Yeah.
couple days, and then it was worthy again. But Captain America couldn't lift it until later. Like what? Huh?
I don't know. It's just
So dumb.
so many things that I think they just wanted the hype of that in the movie where he picked up the Thor's hammer. But
This movie, bro, it's just so
I know,
dull.
it's just there's nothing really to talk about
Mm-hmm.
because it just feels
Yeah.
so short and nothing really happened because there was no
Yep.
consequences at the end except for Loki just fell and now he's on Earth
Yep.
controlling people apparently.
Yep. Even though that gets retconned in the next movie because he's not controlling him at the beginning of that. But okay. Yeah, this movie's pretty much just inconsequential. So, all right. So I'll give the movie like a 3 out of 10. I was debating on giving it like a 2.5 or something, but it is funny, so I'll give it like a 3 out of 10.
This is funny because I think this is the only time you've rated a movie higher than me, which I was gonna give this movie a 2 because it's just boring, and the only thing that carries it is that it's funny. So I'm sticking to 2 because it's just like I said, boring and a little bit funny. So
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna put it like, I'm actually gonna put it under Spider-Man 2. Because again, I hate Spider-Man 2. Everyone knows that. I think that movie's trash. But I at least can talk about something in that movie. It's at least something to talk about.
yeah,
This one's just so nothing that's like, why would I ever bring this up in conversation?
yeah, honestly.
So yeah, bad movie. It is rated very low on our list. We're almost done phase 1 though. We have like 3 more movies to talk about, and then we can get into the big ranking of all of them. So
Alrighty.
next movie we're actually going to be getting into is X-Men First Class.
I see.
And that one's actually a good movie. Like
I've
a really
seen
good
that
movie.
one.
Yeah, so fucking finally we got a good movie next week. Let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that one is a prequel to the X-Men series, so there won't be a lot of people that we know in that one, which is definitely for the better. That one's pretty much like a reboot. So thank God we're kind of done with the shitty X-Men for a little bit for now. So
Yeah.
that's good. And that's the last X-Men movie of Phase 1 that we have to talk about. So next week we're done with X-Men for a little bit, so that's nice. And then after that we get Captain America and the Avengers, and then we're going to be finished with Phase 1. So, yeah, that's our review of Thor. Awful movie. Don't watch it. Please God, never watch it. It is so dull. And yeah, that's pretty much all we have to talk about. I'm kind of bummy that we didn't get to talk very much today because it's nothing to really talk about. But next week we'll definitely have a lot to talk about. I'm assuming that one will go over an hour because I do have a lot to say about that one. So
I hope there's more to say.
yeah, and there definitely will be because that's actually a good movie. So
Yeah.
thank God. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching this podcast. Make sure to tune in next week for X-Men First Class, and tune in for every other podcast because we're almost done Phase 1. So thank you all so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.